stared at the number on my laptop screen. One trum num moing ginjola, my savings, my safety net. Every dollar had been carved out of missed weekends, black coffee, and the quiet kind of discipline no one claps for. The spreadsheet glowed pale blue against the dark room. Rent, utilities, food, investments, balanced, predictable. I liked things that stayed in order. They couldn't turn on you the way people did. My phone buzzed. Mom, dinner tomorrow. Be early. I almost ignored it, then typed back a single word. Okay. Sunday dinners were habit, not affection. My parents loved routine as much as they loved pretending we were close. Margaret Dawson ran her house the way she ran her accounting office, precise, polished, with no room for deviation. My father, Robert, preferred numbers that ended in zeros and children who didn't argue. My brother, Ethan, had never fit either description, but they forgave him for everything. At 9 that night, I microwaved leftover pasta and opened the message thread again. Mom, don't forget dessert. Your brother's favorite pie. I muttered. Of course it is. The last time I'd brought something for myself, she'd said, no one eats that. Claire, you always make things complicated. I closed the laptop, grabbed my planner, and checked the month's budget one more time. Everything lined up, neat and clean. Stability was my language. But that word family still tripped like a missing note in the tune. The air in my apartment hummed with the refrigerator's low buzz. I should have felt proud. I'd built this life from the ground up, college on scholarship, job in finance, every cent saved without help. Yet there was always that tug, a tiny thread pulling me back to the table where I'd once sat small and invisible. Tomorrow would be another dinner, another performance of normal. I'd listen, nod, maybe smile. Then I'd go home, rinse the smell of roasted chicken off my hair, and get back to work. The phone lit again, this time a voice message. I pressed play. My mother's voice, smooth but sharp. Claire, your father invited Ethan's friend from the bank. He wants to discuss something important. Please, be polite. Something in her tone flicked like a warning light. Discuss what I said to no one. I turned off the lamp, but the unease stayed bright. Whatever they wanted, it wouldn't be small talk. Tomorrow night, my perfect balance sheet would meet the one thing I could never control, family. The next evening, I parked in front of my parents' house and sat there for a moment, hands tight around the steering wheel. The lights inside glowed warm and perfect, like a photograph you'd frame to prove happiness. I forced a breath, then stepped out. Margaret opened the door before I could knock. You're late, she said. Her smile stretched too thin. It's 6:30, I replied. Dinner started at 6. She turned without waiting for me, her perfume sharp enough to sting. In the dining room, Robert sat at the head of the table, carving roasted chicken. Ethan leaned back, grinning like he owned the place. Look who finally made it, he said. The family accountant. I set my bag down and sat. You're welcome for showing up. Mom poured me a glass of wine. Don't start. I didn't. Robert cleared his throat. Let's eat before it gets cold. For 10 minutes, we pretended to be normal passing plates, trading safe words. Then Ethan put his fork down and looked straight at me. I need your help. Claire. Something in his tone, too rehearsed, made my stomach tighten. With what he leaned forward, elbows on the table. I owe money. A lot. 100,000. The wine glass froze halfway to my mouth. That's not a small mistake. I'll pay it back, he said quickly. But I need a loan. You have the savings. Mom's voice slid in like a knife wrapped in silk. It's for family. Claire. We take care of our own. I stared at her. You taught me to take care of myself. Robert's jaw flexed. Don't be smart. Your brother's in trouble. I didn't cause it. Ethan's grin vanished. You think you're better than me because you count pennies. I think I learned what happens when no one counts them at all. The room went still. Mom's fingers gripped her wine glass. Enough, she said. You've always had everything planned, haven't you? Maybe it's time to use that money for something good. It's for my future, I said, my voice low but steady. not for his mistakes. Robert slammed his hand on the table. You're letting us down. Us. I looked from one to the other, or him. Ethan pushed his chair back. I'm asking for help. Claire, for once. Don't make it about you. Help isn't handing over everything I've worked for. He stood, his voice cracking. Fine. Keep your precious savings. Watch your family fall apart. Mom rose beside him, her eyes sharp. Think about what this means for all of us. I stood too. I already have. The air between us felt solid, thick with the kind of silence that doesn't end. I grabbed my coat. Robert's voice followed me to the hallway. You'll regret walking away. I didn't answer. As I reached the door, Mom called after me, her tone colder than I'd ever heard. If you won't help your brother, don't bother coming back. The latch clicked behind me, sealing the sentence in place. By the time I reached my car, my phone buzzed again, her message already waiting. Mom, sign the mortgage for him or don't come home. I looked at the screen until my reflection blurred in the glass, then whispered, I guess that's decided. I sat on the edge of my bed, the phone still glowing with my mother's message. Sign the mortgage for him or don't come home. The words felt heavier than any number I'd ever handled. I called her. She answered on the first ring. Claire. She said, You read it. I did. Then you know what needs to happen. What needs to happen, I said. Is Ethan paying for his own mistakes? Her breath came sharp. He's your brother. I'm not his insurance policy. Silence stretched. Then my father's voice cut in, distant but firm. You're making a selfish choice. I'm making the only responsible one. I said, You've always been cold, he muttered. That's why no one can depend on you. I almost laughed. You mean that's why you can't control me? Mom broke in again, softer now. Claire, listen to me. If you do this, we can keep the family together. No, I said. If I do this, there'll be nothing left of me to keep. She went quiet, then, quietly but deliberate. Don't call until you've changed your mind. The line went dead. I sat in the dark for a long time, phone still in my hand. Then I stood, opened my laptop, and logged into every account I had, savings, investments, checking. I changed every password, set alerts, locked them all behind codes only I knew. When the final confirmation screen blinked secured, I let out a slow breath. My hands were shaking, but the air felt clean for the first time that night. A new message popped up. Unknown number. You'll regret this. I stared at it until the text dimmed, then powered off the phone. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the fridge in the next room. I whispered into the quiet. Let them come. I'm done being the family's safety net. Sleep didn't come. The city outside felt distant, like a place I no longer lived in. I made tea and sat by the window, watching my reflection move in the glass. Somewhere in that reflection was the girl who once waited for her parents to notice her. I heard her voice again, 10 years old, breathless, clutching a math trophy half her size. Mom, Dad, look, I won first place. Mom's voice from the car phone. That's wonderful. Honey, we're at Ethan's game. We'll celebrate later. Later never came. The trophy stayed on the kitchen counter until the gold chipped off. Years after that, when I got my first job at the local bookstore, I handed my first paycheck to Mom. You can keep it, she said without looking up from her laptop. Save it for college. I did. Every dollar. Every quiet evening spent shelving books and counting coins built a wall between me and their approval. College was the next wall. I studied finance on scholarship, worked at the university office to cover the rest. My roommate once said, You're like a machine. Claire. I told her, machines don't cry when they fail. But I did cry once, alone in a library cubicle, when I realized I hadn't called home in 2 months and no one had noticed. When graduation came, Mom texted, Proud of you. No call, no visit, just that. I remembered that text tonight as I scrolled through my bank notifications. My account balances blinked like little badges of survival. Every number was a reminder that I'd learned to protect myself because no one else would. At 2 a.m, I called Naomi Park, the only person I trusted enough to wake. "Claire." "It's late," she mumbled. "I just need to hear someone who doesn't want something from me." She was quiet for a moment. "You're stronger than you think." "I don't feel strong. I feel cornered." "That's what strength feels like right before it shows up." Her calm steadied me. "Thanks." "Naomi." "Lock your doors and sleep," she said, "and don't you dare sign anything." When the call ended, I sat there in the half-dark, the sound of her words still humming. Somewhere between that forgotten trophy and tonight's locked accounts, I had built a fortress, and outside it, my family was pounding on the walls, calling it love. The first alert hit before sunrise. "Unusual sign-in attempt detected." I sat up, heart thudding, and opened my email. Another alert arrived, then a third. I dialed my bank. A woman answered on the second ring. "Fraud department. This is Carla. My name is Claire Dawson." I said, "I'm getting repeated login attempts on an old joint account from years ago. Let me pull your profile." She said, "I'm seeing multiple failed logins overnight. Did you authorize anyone to access your accounts?" I did not. "I'll place a temporary freeze and enable additional verification," Carla said. "If anyone attempts a transaction, you'll be notified immediately. Do it." I said, "Lock everything." A text came through while she worked, "Ethan, you can make this stop in 1 minute." I swallowed. "Carla, please also note a family member may try to impersonate me." "Understood," she said. "You're secure now." I hung up, stared at Ethan's message, and typed back, "Stop trying to get in." I didn't press send. By mid-morning, Naomi pinged me. "Coffee at 11, I typed yes and pushed through the office doors. 2 coworkers paused mid-conversation. One of them offered a smile that didn't reach her eyes. At my desk, another notification flashed, this time from social media. Ethan Dawson posted, "My sister is sitting on $150,000 while her own brother is drowning. Family means nothing to her." Comments stacked underneath like stones. "Neighbor from our old street, shame on her. Former classmate, always thought she was cold." I closed the tab, the heat rising in my chest. Ryan from accounting stopped by with a file. "Rough morning. Just noise." I said. "At least let me know if you need a few hours," he said, voice careful. "I need people to stop trying to spend my money." I said. He lifted his hands. "I hear you." My phone buzzed again this time, a name I hadn't seen in months. "Julia Reed, call me. It's important." I stepped into an empty conference room and dialed. "Julia, I hate doing this over the phone," she said, voice low. "But you need to know the truth. Ethan has done this before. How far he drained Aunt Linda's savings 2 years ago," Julia said, then borrowed from Uncle Mark. "Your parents covered it both times. They didn't tell you because they said you'd overreact." I pressed my fingers against my temple. "They call it protecting him." "They call it love," she said. "It's not." "Thank you for telling me," I said. "I'm sorry it's you now," she said. "They always circle back to the person who still has something left." The meeting room felt smaller when I hung up. My email dinged once more. Subject line, mortgage application confirmation. My throat went dry. I opened the message. "Dear Claire Dawson, thank you for your e-signature on the adjustable rate mortgage application in the amount of $100,000. Please confirm your driver's license number to complete processing." A PDF attachment waited like a trap. I tapped it open and stared at my name, perfectly printed. The signature a near match. My stomach flipped. I called the number in the email header, navigated the menu, and reached a loan officer. "This is Claire Dawson," I said. "I did not sign any mortgage application." The officer's tone shifted. "I can see a digital signature submitted last night. Can you verify the last 4 digits of your social?" "No," I said. "I'm not confirming anything. Flag the application as fraud and halt processing." "Understood," he said. "We'll freeze the file and escalate to our fraud unit. You may receive a call for a written statement. I'll be ready." I said. I forwarded the email to myself, printed the first page, and held the paper as if it were evidence from a crime scene. My phone trembled in my hand. I dialed Naomi. She answered on the first ring. Tell me. They forged a mortgage with my name, I said. She exhaled, sharp and furious. Then you're done playing nice. You call a lawyer, you document everything. You block anyone who tries to take one more inch. I already started. I said, the bank froze it. Good, she said. Now breathe. The office door opened and Ryan poked his head in. He clocked the paper in my hand and the look on my face. Everything okay, no? I said, but it will be. He nodded once. Say the word if you need coverage. When he left, I stared at the forged signature until it blurred. Another text from Ethan flashed. This is your last chance to fix it. My jaw tightened. I took the printed page, walked to the shredder, and fed the document through. The blades caught, chewed, and spat out thin strips that drifted into the bin like confetti from a party I refused to attend. I stepped back, breath unsteady. The phone buzzed again, unknown number, then silence. I let it ring until the sound died on its own. Rain hammered the windshield as I sat in my parked car outside the apartment. The dashboard clock blinked past midnight. My phone lit up again, another message from Mom. I didn't open it. I knew the rhythm by heart: guilt, plea, accusation. The wipers dragged across glass. Slow and tired, I pressed play on the voicemail instead. Her voice filled the small space. Claire, this has gone too far. Your father's worried sick. Ethan's not eating. He's talking nonsense. You can fix this with one signature. Don't destroy what's left of this family. Her tone cracked at the end, the sound of someone pretending to beg. I hit delete. The silence after her voice was louder than the rain. I saw myself at 12, sitting in my room while Ethan shouted downstairs. Dad's voice had thundered that day too. You can't ground him for one mistake, Mom had said. I'd heard her footsteps later, stopping outside my door. Your brother's under pressure, she'd whispered. Be kind. I'd been kind for 20 years. The phone buzzed again this time. Naomi, please tell me you're safe. I'm fine, I said. My throat felt tight. They tried to forge my name. I stopped it, but it's like they're everywhere. Her voice softened. They're pushing because you finally said no. I can't keep doing this, I whispered. Yes, you can. You already are. I nodded even though she couldn't see me. It feels like everything's breaking. Let it break, Naomi said. Maybe that's how you start clean. After the call, I sat back and let the tears come quiet, ugly, shaking. It wasn't fear anymore. It was grief, heavy and overdue. When the rain eased, I walked upstairs, changed into dry clothes, and opened my laptop. A blank document waited. I typed fraud incident report. Ethan Dawson across the top. My hands steadied with each keystroke. By the time I saved the file, the shaking had stopped. I glanced at my reflection in the dark screen. The woman staring back looked older, sharper, unrecognizable, and, for once, completely awake. The knock came just after 9. 3 short hits. Deliberate. Like someone who already owned the right to be there. I froze halfway through making coffee. When I opened the door, Robert stood on the step, his shoulders squared beneath his beige jacket. Margaret was behind him, clutching a folder against her chest. We need to talk, he said, brushing past me before I could answer. Make it quick, I said. Margaret set the folder on my table. Ethan's in trouble again. The lenders are calling. We can still fix this if you co-sign. I stared at her hands, the same ones that used to braid my hair before school. You forged my name once. You're lucky I didn't call the police. Her face hardened. You think we'd ever do that? I saw the document. Robert stepped forward, voice sharp. You're overreacting. It was a mistake, a misunderstanding. Someone typed my name on a $100,000 loan. I said, that's not a misunderstanding. You always make things dramatic, he snapped. This family needs unity. not your accusations. I spent 30 years being silent so you could call it unity. I said. Margaret's voice trembled. We raised you better than this. You raised me to fix things you broke. Robert pointed at me. You're walking away from your brother while he's drowning. He's drowning because you keep throwing him ropes made of my money, I said. Margaret's eyes shone. He's your blood. I'm his excuse. Robert's tone shifted from anger to disappointment, the weapon he knew best. You'll regret this one day. I met his stare. You said that every time I refused to give more than I could afford. I never regretted it. He turned to leave, but Margaret lingered. Claire, she said softly, you're better than this coldness. I'm finally equal to it, I said. Her shoulders slumped. For a second, I thought she might cry, but instead she straightened, gathering her composure like a coat. Don't call us when it all falls apart. I opened the door wider. Then we understand each other. They walked out without another word. The door shut with a dull click that sounded final. For a long time, I didn't move. The folder sat where Margaret had left it. I opened it. The first page was a copy of the same mortgage form, unsigned this time, waiting for me. A blank line, neat and expectant. I tore the page once, then again, until it lay in strips across the floor. When I finally looked up, the phone buzzed on the counter, an unread email notification. Subject line opportunity. Austin. I read the first line. We're expanding our finance team and thought of you first. I felt my pulse steady, the pieces of paper still at my feet. For the first time in weeks, the word future didn't sound like a threat. I accepted the offer before the sun came up. The email from Ryan Cooper sat open on my screen, the cursor blinking beside the words, Welcome to Austin. I typed back one sentence, I'm in. By noon, my apartment was a battlefield of boxes. I worked in silence, sealing the last of my files. The phone kept buzzing Ethan's name over and over. I let it ring until it stopped. When I finally picked up once, his voice came out hoarse, frantic. You're just leaving. After everything I'm done being your safety net, I said, don't you care what happens to us? You made sure I couldn't. He cursed and hung up. The call ended like a door slamming in an empty house. 2 days later, Naomi drove me to the airport. She grabbed my hand at the curb. You know this isn't running away. Right, I know, I said. It's walking toward something else. Then go, she said. And don't look back. I didn't. Austin felt warmer, louder, alive in a way Charlotte never had. At the new firm, Ryan greeted me with an easy grin. Still the most disciplined analyst I know. I had practice. I said, work came fast budgets, reports, clients. Each number steadied me, like bricks building a life that finally belonged to me. That Friday, a woman from my team stopped by my desk. I'm Amber, she said, her smile quick and genuine. We're hitting the food trucks tonight. You in? I hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I'm in. The night air smelled of spice and smoke. For the first time in months, I laughed without checking my phone. Later, in my tiny Austin apartment, I logged into a video session with a therapist Ryan had recommended, Dr. Evelyn Hart. Her voice was calm, measured. They made you feel responsible for their choices, she said. I exhaled. I spent my whole life trying not to disappoint them. Dr. Hart leaned forward slightly. You didn't disappoint them. Claire, you stopped enabling them. The truth of it landed quietly, like the click of a lock sliding into place. When the session ended, I stood by the window. The skyline shimmered outside, new, unfinished, waiting. The message came on a quiet Sunday morning while I was reviewing reports for a client. The name on the screen made my chest tighten. Julia Reed. They lost the house. Her text read, Ethan's in rehab again. Your parents can't keep up with the payments. I thought you should know. I called her right away. Julia, are they okay? They're staying with Aunt Linda for now, she said. It's bad. Claire, the bank took everything. Your mom's still trying to blame you, but it's not you. It never was. I pressed my thumb against the desk's edge. I told them this would happen. I know you did. What about Ethan? Julia hesitated. He called crying the night before the auction, said he wished he'd listened. I think he meant it this time. The words sank in, heavy but distant. Thank you for telling me. You're not planning to send money, right? She asked gently. No, I said. Not this time. There was a pause. I'm glad. When we hung up, the room felt too still. My phone vibrated again. Mom. I watched it ring until the screen went dark. Later that afternoon. Naomi called. You heard the news, didn't you? Julia told me. I said, You doing okay? I don't know what okay means anymore. I said, but I'm not guilty. That's something. She said, I keep thinking about that night at dinner. I said quietly, every word they used to shame me. And now, all of it's gone. Naomi's voice softened. Maybe it had to fall apart so you could stop carrying it. I nodded, though she couldn't see me. Maybe. When the call ended, I opened my laptop, transferred a small donation to a community fund for addiction recovery, and closed the lid. The act felt clean, no guilt, no resentment. The phone lit again. Mom. One voicemail. I deleted it without listening. Saturday mornings in Austin had become my ritual. Coffee, a stack of worksheets, and a classroom full of teenagers learning how to handle money better than most adults I knew. Who knows what an emergency fund is, I asked. A girl in the front row raised her hand. It's when you save for the bad days so you don't have to beg for help later. I smiled. Exactly. Her name was Sarah Quiet, sharp, maybe 16. After class, she lingered by the door. Miss Dawson, she said softly, my parents fight about money all the time. I don't want to end up like that. I handed her a small notebook. Start here, I said. Write down every dollar you save. It doesn't matter how small. You'll see what control feels like. She held the notebook like it meant something sacred. You really did this every day for 10 years, I said. Her eyes widened. Was it worth it? I thought of Charlotte, the dinners, the shouting, the guilt that used to live in my chest like a heartbeat. It saved me, I said simply. When the students left, I stayed behind, stacking chairs. The silence was gentle, not empty. That evening, Naomi called. How'd the class go? Good, I said. One of them reminded me of myself. Then you're doing it right. After the call, I stepped onto my balcony. The Austin skyline shimmered under the night. I thought about the house my parents lost, the savings I'd kept, the life I'd built from both. The wind carried a faint smell of rain. I whispered into it. Not for them, but for me. I lost their approval, I said, but I kept my freedom, and for the first time, it sounded like peace.